to allow the public sector to provide its services to the Jamaican people, provide services to the private sector, and the idea is that those services must be more accessible. Those services must be more affordable. Those services must be faster. They must be more personable and comfortable for the citizen.
Watch Building a Better Public Sector, a 4-part docuseries right here on CVM, commencing April 5 and aired every Sunday in April at 3 p.m. Brought to you by the Transformation Implementation Unit.
Tune in to Lead Story, weekdays at 6 p.m. Hosted by Jody Ann Quarry.
Brought to you by
Horizon, a new loan product from Access Financial Services.
Thanks for joining us for CVM News Afternoon. It's Wednesday, April 29, 2026. I'm Akeem Oret. A grim discovery has brought a tragic end to the search for a missing Clarendon former policeman. The body, believed to be that of 42-year-old former Detective Corporal Sylvester Reed, was found earlier today in bushes along the Yorktown to Panarsos Main Road. Reed, who was attached to the Clarendon Division, had been missing since Tuesday, April 14. His disappearance had raised alarm after police discovered blood inside a motor car believed to be driven by him along Old Harbour Road in Spanish Town last week. That chilling find intensified fears for his safety and triggered an island-wide investigation. The discovery of his body now marks a tragic turn in the case as detectives from the Spanish Town Criminal Investigation Branch continue their probe into the circumstances surrounding his death. Authorities are yet to confirm the cause of death as investigations remain ongoing. To other news now, the Jamaica Labour Party is strongly condemning what it describes as disorderly conduct by opposition MP Angela Brown Burke following a dramatic disruption in the House of Representatives of Jamaica on Tuesday. According to the JLP Communication Chairman, Senator Abka Fitz-Henley, Brown Burke is accused of breaching parliamentary rules after removing the Mace and defying orders to leave the chamber.
Oh, you don't ever do that, member. Marshall, please. Angela Brown Burke, I name you. Outside.
The conduct of Angela Brown Burke in interfering with the Mace was most disappointing, unfortunate, and disgraceful. And what makes matters worse is that Brown Burke attempted to disrupt the sitting of the Parliament, which was meeting to consider the very important matter of a piece of draft legislation which is intended to assist Jamaicans to recover stronger and build back communities in the aftermath of the devastating impact of Hurricane Melissa. What was particularly disturbing as well was the behavior of Brown Burke's colleagues who appear to support her impudent and unacceptable conduct.
Meanwhile, locals in sections of Kingston and Saint Catherine living and working near select cesspool emptying facilities will soon be free of the inconveniences they bring. This, as Environment Minister Matthew Samuda announced during his sectoral presentation Tuesday, plans to close and relocate the facilities in short order. Efficiency, transparency, and technological significance, these were the main objectives of the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, NARA, highlighted by Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett on his confidence tour of the South Coast. With the country's tourism sector's resilience and recovery now proceeding, the minister says that the South Coast is open and ready for action. Crystal Williams tells us more.
NARA, the Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, according to Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett, is a construct prepared to re-evaluate processes that enable efficient recovery towards the better, faster, stronger, more effective growth and development of the country. Minister Bartlett says the process of doing business will be changed.
So we have to make that process easier without compromising on the quality and standards, and more affordable, so we don't lock out key players and creatives from the process of growth and development. And that's what NARA is about.
According to the minister, the government seeks to reimagine and redesign tourism that is now fit for purpose. He says the process will secure the commitment of transparency, integrity, efficiency, and cost-effectiveness. He refers to the new wave of tourism this will bring about as Tourism 3.0.
And so if the roads are not properly structured and built and creates the connectivity that enables seamless movement, we have a problem. NARA is going to solve that problem.
Along with a focus on people development and tourism experiences as a means of job creation, he says infrastructure transformation will also be supported. Minister Bartlett sees aviation as the driving force for tourism and its growth.
Aviation is at the heart of tourism, as you know. They don't swim to Jamaica, right? And 97% of the transport of the world is by air. So aviation is critical to us. So back to the point now of how NARA is going to insert itself into the new tourism that we're talking about. Because it is creating the infrastructure that is required to support the efforts.
Crystal Williams reporting for CVM News.
In a CVM News follow-up, we remain on high alert and readiness. The word from President of the Jamaica Teachers Association after Tuesday's meeting on salary negotiations with the Ministry of Finance. As Natasha Williams reports, the JTA and the Finance Ministry are set to meet again on Friday.
While growing tension among teachers has somewhat cooled, following a meeting with the Finance Ministry and the Jamaica Teachers Association on Tuesday regarding wage negotiations and other outstanding issues, the fire is still far from being quenched. JTA President Mark Malava is urging the members to remain on high alert.
Teachers should continue to maintain a state of high alert. We will continue to communicate with them. We will continue to have those discussions with them, but we will await the letter on Thursday, and then we go back into the meeting on Friday to continue with the negotiations. The teachers can rest assured that the team continues to look out for their best interest.
Mr. Malava notes that among the 28 items on their list of claims, the main focus of Tuesday's meeting surrounded the teachers' graduate allowance. However, he says following the minister's response to that matter, there are several other critical key issues that must be agreed on before they come to a resolution.
We will await that letter before we clearly indicate what the new position of the Ministry of Finance is as it relates to the graduate allowance. We continue to maintain that the graduate allowance was a matter that was already settled under the Memorandum of Understanding, and from where we sit, it was clear to us that there may have been some misinterpretation, for want of a better word, with respect to that item in the Memorandum of Understanding.
The president says a number of teachers are also still awaiting their increments, but the Ministry of Education has promised to settle that matter this week. Now, after meeting with Finance Ministry officials on Tuesday, he says there's progress, but he insists teachers must maintain a sense of readiness for the negotiations' conclusion.
We are eager to have the conclusion of the negotiations. At the appropriate time, we will have to bring it to our members for them to have a look at it and to make a determination whether or not it is something that is acceptable to them.
Natasha Williams, CVM News.
And we take a break here inside CVM News Afternoon. Do stay with us. Our live interview comes up next.
Tech Grow! Business is fast, easy, flexible, and costs less. Oh, on Entrepreneurs, let's go digital! The government of Jamaica and the European Union present Digital Jamaica Training Series. Learn how technology grows your business. Choose the right digital tools. Manage your staff, customers, and money digitally. Data security and privacy. Artificial intelligence. We'll be in every parish. Apply online. www.jbdc.net. Log on fast. Digital Jamaica. Powering connectivity for MSMEs.
Hey, what I want? Hi, I am Candy Pang.
What a guan?
What a guan?
That a guan, pa.
What a guan? What a guan?
What a guan! Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. on CVM TV.
And that's a guan, pa. What a guan?
Brought to you by
Some things are perfect from the start. Smirnoff.
Welcome back to CVM News at noon. Opposition spokesman on education, Damian Crawford, has taken legal action against the state, arguing that Jamaica is failing to uphold children's constitutional right to public-funded education. Speaking during his contribution to the sectoral debate in the House of Representatives, Crawford revealed that he filed a constitutional challenge earlier this month. He is seeking clarity from the courts on whether the government is meeting its obligations under the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms. And as he seeks clarity, he joins us now. Good afternoon, Mr. Crawford. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Crawford? Mr. Crawford?
Good afternoon. Yeah, man. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. So you've taken the government to court. What specific outcome are you hoping the judiciary will deliver in this constitutional challenge?
Well, of course, first of all is to declare that it is a constitutional breach. And then second of all, to designate a duty to the government to remove that breach. What we have asked for is that there is a subvention per child that is given to those who are having to go to private institutions. And secondly, that they should look at the 80% of primary schools that have space and build out infant departments within that space. So immediately that would allow for private schools to offer a more adequate type of education with paid teachers and afforded utilities. And it would cause for the government to have a duty to extend primary schools with spaces with infant departments.
So you argue that underfunding breaches children's rights. How strong is this legal basis for that claim under the Charter?
Well, the Charter is clear. The Charter speaks to that pre-primary school education is a right in a publicly funded institution. And so therefore the Charter speaks to the government providing both the infrastructure and the salaries, the payments. Basically, it should be treated as primary school is treated. So we don't have to pay for primary school education. We also have teachers that are paid for by the government, trained teachers. We also have infrastructure that is also the duty of the government to maintain. We have none of that within the early childhood sector. So what we recognize in the early childhood sector, for example, is that only 16% of the institutions are government-owned and government-funded. Additionally, only 19% of the teachers are trained, and the vast majority of our children, by extension, haven't gotten a reasonable opportunity at that level.
The government has maintained, Mr. Crawford, that progress is being made in early childhood education. What evidence do you have that directly contradicts that?
100% evidence that contradicts that. For example, as I said, there's 2,400 early childhood schools in the country. The government only have 300 and something of that. Additionally, of all the schools that exist, to affordability to be certified, only 15% are certified. As I said, only 18% of the teachers are trained. The government makes no real contribution to teachers The government contribution to a teacher of what is called a level 2 heart is $18,000 per month. And for the person who is at level 3 heart is $30,000 per month. This has led to a consistent transition out of the job for teachers who are basically seeing early childhood as a temporary stop until they find a better unit. Again, something that is contradictory to the development of a child who needs consistent exposure to known adults. So in general, the government's contribution is 2.24% of GDP. The established global norm is 1% of GDP. So the government is almost a quarter of what is established. So I think that is sufficient facts to highlight that the government has not done sufficient.
So you've also highlighted major discrepancies in funding figures. How concerned are you about transparency, accountability within the Education Ministry?
Well, I'm more concerned about solutions. Solution starts with facts. As a mathematician, that's what I teach my children all the time. You state the facts of the question, and then looking at the facts, you then seek to find the solution. Now, what the ministry has been indicating is to seek to basically sell a lie to build a narrative more than to build a nation. And so the ministry, for example, the permanent secretary states that they're investing $38 billion in early childhood. However, the budget before us has indicated it's $8 billion. The permanent secretary, the minister has indicated only 108 schools don't have a trained teacher, when the census from the Early Childhood Commission indicate that more than 800 schools don't have a single teacher, not even one teacher, when the recommendation based on the government's own prerogative is 1 to 10, one trained teacher to every 10 students. That would mean that we need approximately 11,000 trained teachers for the current students enrolled. We would need about another 7,000 for the actual number within the age cohort. So we need about 18,000 teachers. The current training reality is 2,100 trained teachers. So there's nothing that is of essence that is over 50%, and by extension, that's sufficient proof that the government has abridged the rights of the children.
So what immediate steps should the government take to fix this shortage in our education institutions?
All right, step one, for the schools that the children are attending, each school should receive a grant adequate for the child. So we already have decided what are the adequate costs that the child should, that is extended to the treatment, adequate treatment of the child. 1, a trained teacher. 2, adequate utilities. 3, infrastructure that is up to standard, which means that if it is that those things are established, the government should give to each institution an adequate grant. Currently, at the primary school level, outside of teachers, they receive, I think, $17,000 per child, and then they pay the teacher and they pay the utilities. I think the similar reality should be done for those schools. Secondly, for the 80% of primary schools that already have space, because of the reduced birth rate and because of the lower population size within that age group, they should immediately transform those available classrooms into infant departments. So at this point, as I've indicated, we have less than 20% of the needed spaces in infant departments. So they can immediately transfer those into infant departments. And over the next 3 years, they should ensure a gradual increase towards 1% of GDP to become a contribution to the early childhood sector.
Finally, Mr. Crawford, critics may argue that this move is political. How do you respond to claims that this legal action is more about optics than solutions?
Well, the critics will have to wait and see. The fact of the matter is that I have threatened on 2 occasions to do so. The fact of the matter is that I've proven my own commitment to education over time consistently through my own effort and investment. And the fact of the matter is that the breach occurred. So whatever this motive it is to correct this breach, it is irrelevant. The question is the breach there and should it be corrected? And if it takes a political motive to move for that correction, then thank God for politics. Because politics is everything that is to be affected the people. And we run for power so that we can either do it or so we can change it. And I believe that the change is necessary. So to those critics, I am not concerned about that label because the outcome is more important than the motive.
All right. That was Damian Crawford, opposition spokesperson on education. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Crawford.
Thank you, my brother. Thanks for having me.
To international news now, all of the Kenyan police officers deployed to gang-plagued Haiti as part of a security support mission have left the country. A Haitian source confirmed Tuesday as another unapproved operation gets up and running. Kenya took the lead in the Multi-Nation Security Support Mission, MSS, greenlit by the UN Security Council in late 2023 to help Haiti's overwhelmed police secure the country from powerful gangs. However, armed groups remain in control of significant territory and continue to inflict devastating violence. France 24 has that story.
The last Kenyan police officers deployed to Haiti as part of a multinational security support mission have left the country. Of the 2,500 officers planned in the UN-approved mission, only around half that number were deployed. Underfunded and under-equipped, it struggled to curb gang violence, which continues to plague the country. Last year, the United